This morning I received a letter of resignation from Bill Peters, which I accepted. Effective immediately, Bill Peters is no longer a member of the Calgary Flames organization. The subject matter that we've been dealing with over the last 3 days is difficult, it's hard, and it does not in any way reflect the core values of the Calgary Flames.
All right, that was Flames General Manager Brad Treliving announcing the resignation of Bill Peters as head coach of the team after allegations of racist language and physical abuse became public over the last week. Let's bring in our Flames insider, Ryan Leslie, who was at the press conference. Are you surprised, Ryan, with the term resignation?
Well, maybe a little bit, and you wonder what type of legal angles that had to play in all of this, but I think we kind of caught wind of it this morning. We had our suspicions that it might be framed that way, and in fact it was. And so, however it has to be done, I guess that's the way it's going to unfold. But a little taken aback when we first started to hear rumblings of it. And then, but I think today really was an emotional one for the entire organization. And I know you want to talk about the news, and certainly it has to be spoken about. And, you know, it's a kind of a tough one all around for the players themselves and management and the entire organization. Certainly those affected by that, certainly Lou, certainly any player who was affected by any kind of physical or verbal treatment of Peters. But right now I just want to tell you that we're looking down on the ice practice. The boys have been full practice here now, and believe it or not, it's something I've never seen before. Full music playing here. Almost signaling maybe a feeling or a new beginning or a new bit of levity for a very heavy time for the group. And it's something else. I got to be honest. It is fascinating to see the smiles and just the guys going with the backdrop, the musical backdrop or the soundtrack, if you will. It's been something. So I can also tell you that Travis Hamonic is back on the ice too. So is Austin Zarnik. But as far as the Peters situation, you get the sense that they're just trying to move forward here, and that's all they can do.
Treliving was asked this question, and obviously for a lot of reasons he didn't get into it. Are you of the belief that if Bill Peters didn't resign, he would have been fired at the end of this investigation?
Well, I can't speculate to that, but I mean, I think we probably can put two and two together and think that might be the logical case, given everything. I think just the reality is that this is how it's gone down for a number of reasons, and this is how it actually happened. So that's what we can go with. But yeah, I mean, like you and like anybody else, I think we were probably all under the idea that he would be fired as a result. It comes in the form of a resignation. And the bottom line is we, all want to try to nitpick and scour and find a different angle. I think the reality is he got the same conclusion. So that's where it sits. And, I think that's just the way it had to be for a number of reasons.
You mentioned Treliving and the organization and how difficult of a week it's been. Treliving looked noticeably exhausted. He also looked like a guy who, despite saying the investigation is all but closed, internally knows he's likely not done dealing with this. How do you think he's handled the last week or so?
I think he's been as transparent as he could possibly be while he was trying to figure out how to handle something that isn't in the GM playbook. He was very open and honest with me whenever I spoke with him, and admitted today, as you probably heard, that he probably made a bunch of mistakes, but that's just who he is. And I think in terms of the process, it had to play itself out. That we're involving a number of things that were out of his control, and yet they still wanted to make themselves very available and very present and very transparent. So, yeah, I think from a standpoint of the media and the standpoint of those close to the situation with the context and the understanding of how it had to play out, I think it was handled probably as well as you could ever imagine. So, yeah. Certainly a tricky one, as you can appreciate.
What role did the league and Gary Bettman play in any of this, if any?
They were involved. They had ongoing conversations, and certainly at this level you would expect that. And Treliving addressed that in his press conference as well. So I think between those conversations and the ones he had with his own organization and the ones that he had with Akeem Alou and Bill Peters, he spoke with Bill on the plane afterwards, going from Pittsburgh to Buffalo to try to get a detailed account of what happened. Very thorough, including former members and current members of the Carolina Hurricanes. So due diligence for sure, and obviously spoke with just about every party involved with this.
This is taken away from, of course, the Flames' play on the ice. Geoff Ward takes over as interim coach. You're at practice right now, as you mentioned, so let's ask you, what does Ward bring that could maybe change this team's play on the ice?
Well, he certainly has experience, and he certainly has the respect of his players. You know, there is a great example of that in Milan Lucic, who worked with him in Boston, their time together. And Lucic credited all of his success, the player he is, even at his peak to where he is now, to Geoff Ward, and just how instrumental he has been. The boys seem to really enjoy him. He's a very thorough coach with a good relationship. He's been in Boston, he's been in Jersey, he's been in the American League, he's been in Europe, and he's got the experience with the right feel for this situation. He got his first National Hockey League win the other night. I can tell you the plane ride was a really light scenario after some heavy days where there were some smiles, there were some moments where you could see Ward had a chance to speak with his team. Treliving did as well in the air, and it was just a real positive window during some pretty dark times.
The team back on the ice tomorrow against the Ottawa Senators. Ryan, we appreciate you doing this with us.
Hey, as always, thanks for having me.